What's going on, everybody? This is Gold Goose here with Gun Knight 777 and Chris. Say hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
And we are going to be reviewing the Warcraft movie, which we watched about 1 hours ago, something like that.
It's been more like
Fairly recently.
5 hours
Yeah,
ago at
yeah.
this point.
It is fresh on our minds. And basically, how we're going to work it is that this first half we're going to discuss it without spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie, this part will be spoiler free, and I'll make sure to make it obvious when the spoiler part's about to happen. This part will probably be somewhat short because there's not much we can really talk about without going into spoilers, I think. But yeah, is there anywhere specific you guys want to start?
Well, okay, let's just establish rules here for a second.
Mm-hmm.
You, sir, Mr. Gold Gear Zero, are the Warcraft nerd.
Yes,
So
I've actually
obviously,
already
like we have
just
we have like a spectrum of Warcraft knowledge here. We
yeah
have you, Mr. Gold Gear Zero, who's the major Warcraft nerd.
yes nine
There's
nine year
me,
veteran.
who only has ever played Hearthstone, really. So I recognize some names, but not really. And
Mm-hmm.
I know absolutely nothing.
you have Christopher, who knows jack shit.
Because I had already decided the title of the video is going to be something along the lines of Warcraft review WoW fan versus non WoW fan, but now it's going to be like three people. I'm not sure how I'm going to word it this time now, but
It's WoW fan versus Hearthstone fan versus no fan.
Versus
Um,
casual Hearthstone player.
versus movie fan.
to be honest, I'm probably going to be the biggest film critic because I took a film mainly because I took a film class in college, so
Mm-hmm.
I know a thing or two about.
Well, yeah, I have some things to critique about too, but I generally love the movie.
I mean, to be honest, if you're looking, I don't know, the biggest I don't know, just basically the overall plot as it stands is there's a bunch of orcs. They're on an orc world.
Draenor.
There's this one dick orc who makes a portal to go to the human world, which is Azeroth. They actually do name it several times.
Mm-hmm.
They go to Azeroth, where all the humans are. They start wrecking things, and then the humans gotta go fight them. And also, like, the orcs and the humans like try to band together to like save both their worlds or some crap like that.
Yeah, it's the kind of like the basis of the beginning plot. One thing I wish they would have done is that I wish they would have gone into maybe just a little bit of the plot of how Gul'dan came into power and stuff, because that's not explained at all. But that's a little farther
By the
back,
way,
I suppose.
Gul'dan is the orc leader. By the way,
Yeah,
for those of you who don't know,
if you ever seen an orc,
they name him like twice.
if you've ever seen an orc with spikes coming out of his back with skulls on them, that's Gul'dan.
He's also the warlock character in Hearthstone.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Before we get into the actual plot related stuff, how did you all feel about the CGI and the general graphics and whatnot?
It looked good.
Oh no,
Yeah.
like you can tell the CG was very well integrated.
Mm-hmm.
The magic looked great.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
my god, that is like the prettiest mag. Like
It looked very natural.
I really like
I
the
like a lot of anime and video game type magic because
Mhm.
you can get and Warcraft did this too because you can be very flashy with it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times in movies, like magic's like
Yeah.
and then it's like one flash of light. No, in
Yeah.
this case, it's like
Lots of flashes.
I'm gonna cast this one spell that's basically gonna bathe the entire area in blue.
Yeah. I liked how in Medivh's tower he had like that pool of magic energy. That was kind of neat.
Yeah, the mana pool.
Mm-hmm. One thing.
It's
Go ahead.
the magic is very good. There's not a lot of reason like the magic doesn't really seem to have a lot of internal logic. It's just hey, they're mages, they can do things.
Yeah, like it's not really like how a video game would be, where they have like specific spells. It's just kind of like I want to do this thing with magic, so I'm gonna do this thing with magic.
Yeah, they don't explain a lot of it, which then
Mm-hmm.
again, a lot of fantasy lore do not go out of their way to explain how
Mm-hmm.
magic works.
You know what?
Unless
I just thought it's interesting. There was not a single fireball,
no, there's no fireballs, there's
no
no flame
fireball,
strike,
no
there's no
elemental stuff. Well,
There was
yeah,
fire.
yeah, no. Medivh had that lightning thing at that one point. So I can't say there was
Okay,
no
now you're starting to
elemental.
talk spoilers. Hey, spoiler alert.
That
He
just
also set some stuff on fire.
just because Medivh has lightning, I don't think that's a spoiler. But I
I'm
didn't
just
say
saying,
yeah.
you're getting really close to giving away stuff that happens in the movie.
Okay, well, so did you. But
It's kind of hard not to.
well, I
I
mean,
was giving a synopsis. That's what I was
yeah, I
doing.
think synopsises are okay, but it's not we're like, oh, so and so dies, and they don't need to get into that. But
I mean, spoilers,
Yeah.
guys.
mhm.
It's a war movie. People get killed in it.
A lot of NPCs have died. Background characters, I guess.
Okay.
That one
Speaking
guy
of
get killed by a
characters,
hammer,
the
And that
the
other
char-
guy.
and the other
And that
guy.
other guy.
there's a lot of like characters in this movie,
Mm-hmm.
and like the biggest problem. First off, the critics have just crapped all over this movie. This has been like
Yeah,
I
that's
think
just so
I
annoying.
think Christopher, you said it has like a
23% on Rotten Tomato.
That is astronomically bad.
Like what I was talking about earlier, how I'm the WoW fan, and so the movie really resonated with me more than it would a somebody who's not really into the lore. But like, even I can imagine, even if I wasn't a fan, and even if some parts confused me, I still think it was a good movie.
It's an okay movie.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the main problem with it. This is like, first off, it's based off the plot, I believe, of the first Warcraft game.
Pretty much.
So not World of Warcraft, like the original
Mm-hmm.
RTS Warcraft. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what the plot.
It's pretty much Warcraft 1, but
Yeah.
Warcraft 1 itself didn't go too deep into its own story.
That's what I was saying, and it's the biggest problem with this movie is it's trying to cram a lot of characters and a lot of information at you.
Especially with the orcs. Like it was kind of confusing with some of the orcs sometimes.
I had it more with the humans, to be honest. Like the human, like
Mhm.
literally the first 30 minutes to about an hour of this movie. By the
Mhm.
way, it's a 2-hour movie. So the first 30 minutes to about an hour, this like 2-ish hour movie, you're basically being waterboarded with characters and locations and information that if you blink, you miss it. And at that point, it's a lot of these like, okay, kids, this is gonna be on the test at the climax. It's a lot of it's not a lot of good exposition really.
Mhm.
They didn't really have time for it. There's
Well,
just
and
too
it's
much
like
stuff cram-packed in it.
with all of the orcs, like I think they only named Orgrim Doomhammer once, and it was in like the middle of the movie. And so, like, say if you just happened to not hear that, you would have never known what his name was.
I didn't catch it.
Yeah,
I
the
didn't either.
guy with the hammer is Orgrim Doomhammer.
Okay. That happens a lot in the movie. There are very few characters that do get name drops consistently. They are Lothar.
Yeah, they only named Lothar once.
Duratan, Gul'dan.
No, they named Dorotan quite a bit, I think.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
I'm saying the ones the characters
Oh,
that
yeah.
Ghidorah,
Yeah, Medivh, Khadgar.
Medivh, Khadgar. Khadgar, I'm just gonna be honest here. Khadgar feels like he almost should not be in this movie.
I mean, it's kind of like, well, I mean, they kind of hinted at him taking over Medivh's spot.
They basically almost say he was supposed to.
Yeah.
But my thing is like with Khadgar, if I were a Khadgar, I would have just been like, fuck this shit, I'm out.
Well, I mean,
Like,
there's a
long time ago.
well, I mean, if he didn't help, Azeroth probably would have gotten taken over by orcs.
I know, but basically my point is like, Khadgar just feels at this point like he's not really there. Like he kind of doesn't belong there for most of the
Some
movie.
stuff felt very forced.
Yeah, a little bit. Like when he was there with Gravona and Lothar, like at the campsite, it was just kind of awkward. Like he just happened to still be there.
Yeah,
To be honest, it's like
some of the acting
Khadgar
wasn't
is a
great.
character I don't think that needs to be there.
I
Or at
think
least I didn't think he needed to be there most of the time, but it feels like it's a prequel for Khadgar, or that there should have been something else, or something that's supposed to come later that's supposed to establish him. But and the movie stands, he's probably the weakest character, which moves on to the point like I don't care about any of the human characters.
There was some questionable acting in there too.
I liked
Khadgar.
I liked
Part of it was
the
Khadgar.
Travis Fimmel's good. He
I don't know any of
played
these names, to
he
be honest,
played
but,
played Lothar.
Lothar wasn't bad.
Yeah,
I thought it was
his son was a little iffy.
Yeah.
He was kind of
Okay.
weird.
There's only about 2 characters I think that were decently written and acted, and they're Duratan and Ghidorah. Is it Ghidorah?
You mean Corona?
Corona, my bad.
I
Corona.
thought I
think it's
actually
Corona.
I thought Gul'dan was acted really well.
Gul'dan was okay, but it's really easy to kind of be a dick.
Well, I mean, like I think it was the voice acting that got me with Gul'dan. Like it fit. It was kind of intimidating, in like like if some dude started talking to me like that.
Yeah.
Like it fit the vibe he had going.
To be
Ha-
fair, he just kind of filled the role.
Mhm.
It's not like nothing about his acting really blew me away. Whereas
Mhm.
like Garona and Duratan, they felt like they had the strongest amount of both writing and
Mhm.
acting behind them.
Yeah.
Lothar was just kind of there, like he was just kind of smug. He was just kind of, I didn't really buy into him much. That's mainly the
Mhm.
problem. A lot of the interesting stuff is on the orc side. The
Mhm.
human side, they just kind of feel there for a good
Yeah.
chunk of it.
Well, they kind of have to be because they're being invaded, but yeah.
I know, but there's stuff you can really say. Like a lot of the stuff
Mhm.
that should possibly be a bit of a bigger deal with the humans,
Mhm.
in my opinion, kind of felt very glazed over.
Well, I mean, other
Which
than well, I feel like if we get too into it, we're gonna get into spoiler territory. But
we're getting
yeah,
we're getting close to spoilers with
yeah.
that. But
Mhm.
my big criticism of the movie from a character standpoint is there aren't a lot of interesting characters in this movie. That's kind of like, in my opinion, the really big weakness is
Mhm.
just the characters and like besides the very rushed exposition, the characters aren't
Mhm.
very good.
I thought Medivh was good.
Aside from a few of them,
Mhm.
a lot of them, in my opinion, just kind of fill the role. Like they don't really, like I'm not
Mhm.
really gonna remember these characters probably in a few weeks or months.
Mhm.
Medivh was interesting. I still can barely remember his name, and like he just seemed off the entire movie.
Well, that's the
Yeah,
funny
his
thing,
act
cause
wasn't very good.
I thought it was good. It's just that he almost made it seem too like I mean,
Too
obviously,
convincing.
yeah, like I mean, I already knew he was going to be a bad guy because I knew that's how it happened in the lore. But
Spoilers.
yeah, kind of.
That is
Well,
a spo-
yeah,
that
technically,
is a
yeah, that
spoiler.
is indeed a spoiler. Well, now that we have done that, let's see, how do we work this now? We have indeed,
Wait, forget what he just
we
said.
have entered spoiler territory.
This is why I said we should have done a non-spoiler video.
Okay, well, I'll edit
It would have
in.
flipped into spoilers
Yeah,
anyways.
before before I get to that part in the actual video, I'll big bold red letters. Spoilers ahead.
Okay,
But
but basically
okay,
that was my big criticism.
yeah, spoilers are all go now.
Well, that was fast. We didn't even get a freaking conclusion.
Well, I mean, like you can't really review a movie without
Yeah,
telling you something about it.
yeah.
Well, there's a difference between telling people something about a movie
Hmm.
and then telling them what happens in the
Yeah,
movie.
well
Then you told
that's
them exactly what's in the movie with the synopsis.
yeah, with the
That's what a
whole
synopsis is supposed to do. You don't tell them like big character moments.
I don't know with Dorotan meeting up with the humans and getting ambushed, that was kind of a big character moment.
That was a big spoiler.
Well, that's what you said.
You kind of expected it.
I
Like,
mean,
just from the trailer.
honestly, yeah, you see that in the trailer. He's like, to save both our people.
yeah, but they never show that scene, and y'all didn't. Oh my god.
Well, they kind of do.
We have very different definitions of the word non-spoiler review. We have
I
very
don't think
different
there's such
definitions.
a thing.
Well, fine. The title will be non-spoiler-ish first half.
We have very different definitions of the spoiler.
And since we're just done with spoilers, Gul'dan fist fight.
Okay, if we're gonna go full into spoiler territory right now,
Yes, we said that about 5 minutes ago.
I'm sorry. Oh my lord. This is getting to the point where we're just gonna say what this is just.
Yeah,
this
just
is
kind of,
stopping
just kind
turn
of.
into a
It's
breakdown.
yeah.
Holy crap! Like I said, Dortan, his fight with Gul'dan, in my opinion, was a bit. Something about it felt really off. It felt kind of a little anticlimactic.
I kept expecting Dorotan to get the upper hand, but he didn't.
To be fair, Gul'dan was cheating the whole damn
Yeah,
time.
I liked how the orcs was like, that's cheating.
The orcs
They're like-
seemed very, very like just indecisive as a whole.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is before the actual movie happens, but basically we're getting into World of Warcraft lore, but Kil'jaeden basically tells Gul'dan that they need to drink the blood of Manaroth, which was a demon that Kil'jaeden sent to to Draenor. They do. That's how they get the green skin color, and they go crazy. Well, they still keep their sanity, but they get kind of like blood hungry and stuff. And so that's how they got all that power trip. So they're not really at their full mind's length or whatever, but like they still have their honor stuff. Like all of them, pretty much. When they went to, I forget what they called it, Magna Call or something like that. When they got into like the honor fight, they all respected that still. So I mean, it's not like they were complete savages.
Except for the Gul'dan one, where they kind of just left it.
Yeah.
Orc culture was not very well explained, other than they just like to fight things.
Yeah, that's why I wished they would have had, like, say at the beginning of the movie, you could have like had the part where Gul'dan comes into power. I think that would have been a good way to give the orcs a little bit more of a backstory, because there a lot goes into how Gul'dan came into power. It shit hit the fan once he went into power. So
yeah.
Before that, they were actually kind of cool.
Yeah, the whole Durotan's entire arc, mainly because of that fight, just kind of feels a bit flat to me.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Because they go into this whole thing and like about him, they don't really touch on him much being a father.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh yeah, he is a kid who's Thrall. This is going to be mentioned like 2 times in the movie.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was Thrall.
I feel like that should have been. I don't know much about orc culture. I feel like that could have been a lot better way to humanize Durotan. Because he just kind of just says, Gul'dan's a dick, we need to kill him.
Yeah.
That's kind of his
it was Gul'dan's a dick, and he's gonna, kill our people, basically, and we need to stop him.
Yeah. It's a lot of that when it just feels like, I don't know, because it's not that Durotan and his wife don't care about Thrall, they do.
Mm-hmm.
But, there wasn't a lot of implications, especially because there's fell magic in the movie.
Yeah.
They don't really explain what fell magic is other than it's evil.
Well, I mean, they explain how it works, or how, like, it drains life, basically.
Yeah, they kind of explain how it works, but what is it?
Well, they explain how it works, but they didn't explain where it comes from, and that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, they don't explain where it comes from, and other than it's a life-draining magic that's very powerful,
yeah,
it's kind of like the dark side of the Force. It's great power at great cost, but they don't really explain a lot of other things. Like
we didn't get any information.
They don't explain the green orc thing ever. It's just orcs are green sometimes.
Well, so that's what I was talking about earlier with the Blood of Manaroth. But I wish they would, like, it's the same thing with the more of the orcs backstory. I wish we would have gotten a little bit of a backstory with Medivh as to like why he's involved with the Fel stuff now.
Yeah, why he gets possessed by the Fel and turns evil. It's like, again, doesn't explain. It just kind of
there's
it's not like the movie. It's not like it's a complete like heel turn for the movie, but it definitely feels like
there is a.
It just kind of feels like it's there to have another villain, so Lothar and Khadgar can go fight someone, and just it's not all fighting Gul'dan.
Yeah.
Even though, in my opinion, the movie would have been better if it was everyone fight Gul'dan.
Yeah.
Because Gul'dan seems overpowered as fuck. Because he just straight up, especially in the Durotan fight, he is buff.
Yeah.
That dude lifts.
It looks so painful when Durotan broke off his bone shard thing.
Yeah.
Or at least one of them. How'd you all feel about the CGI with the orcs? Because, like, for the most part, it felt good, but there were some parts where it's kind of awkward looking. Like when they were interacting with the humans, I didn't think orcs were actually that much bigger than humans. Like, their hands are giant.
Oh, yeah.
No, they're giant. They're big.
Yeah, I mean, I know they're big, but they're like really, really big. Like, in the games, if you compare the human model to the orc model, they're not that much bigger. But it's different. So
it is. Christopher, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, going back to like the whole Thrall being born thing, that was very odd. That was very, very odd to me.
About baby Thrall, not the orcs. Okay.
Like,
well, I mean, this is sort of the same thing.
Okay.
Baby Thrall.
What I'm getting at here is like, they were like, "Oh, we're about to have a child," and then they're like, "Oh, you gotta hide the baby though." and then it's just like, why are you gonna hide
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
then they go through the portal, and they're like, "Up, she's about to die," and then she's not dead, and then it's like, "You brought a child here." It's like a death sentence kind of deal, and the Golden is just like, "Yep, now we have a new guy."
I thought that was like that. Actually, I forgot that had caught me off guard because at the beginning, didn't they were talking and didn't it sounded like Dorothea was saying that he was going without her, but then she went
Yeah.
anyway.
That was the idea. I believe that was the original idea.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the reason it's explained. Like the movie starts on Draenor.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, there are Draenei, I think, on Draenor that.
Oh, that well, no, Draenei. I mean, Draenor is the home to both the Draenei and the orcs.
Yeah, but it's never called Draenor. So like when Gul'dan sacrificed the Draenei to go to Azeroth, it's like I have no. I'm like, who the fuck are you? What are you things? I don't know why.
Yeah, it's not their home. It's not their home planet, but they basically moved there. And for the longest time, they were peaceful with the orcs until Gul'dan and Ner'zhul fucked everything up.
But Baby Thrall is. I feel like he's a fan service plot point more than he.
And apparently, he's also Moses.
Yeah,
Baby Thrall is
but it depends on what happens in the next movie. Because if he's an adult in the next movie, then this movie almost serves as a little bit of like an origin thing for him.
It's not really an origin when it's like he's a baby.
Well, I mean, to explain, like it's a little bit because they show the humans picking him up from his little baby boat. Yeah, that's how he becomes a slave in the future. It's
not a post-credit scene. It's kind of like a right before the credit scene.
Yeah.
But Baby Thralls, as I like to call him.
Yeah. I would like to play his. I would like to play his Baby Thrall in Heroes of the Storm. He's still in the boat.
I do like Baby Thralls. This is spirit though.
Yeah, Draka's death scene was very underwhelming. Yeah. Very underwhelming. Considering she was,
like there was more than one of them.
She wasn't really a major character, but I was just like, dang, you just jumped on the guy and bit him, but you basically ran right into his sword.
Which was your own sword, actually.
Oh yeah.
It was her own knife.
Mm-hmm.
But,
that could have ended differently had she just, taken it in the river with her, like a smart person.
Yeah.
Again, like the thing with first off, she wants to kill him as fast as possible so he doesn't call reinforcements. The second thing is, in my opinion, every character death feels kind of underwhelming. Draka's death is very underwhelming. Durotan's death is underwhelming for me. Lothar's son, his death is very underwhelming for me. Medivh's is kind of underwhelming.
I don't know. Him turning into like human Illidan at the end was pretty sick.
But even still, like, Medivh is like maybe the least offensive of this, but like I never cared about when anyone died, despite Medivh's death obviously being kind of a big deal. Durotan's fight with Gul'dan being kind of a big deal.
Yeah,
none of the characters felt like. I also say worthy of dying.
I watched Boogie 2988's review of the movie earlier, and he had the complaint that he was like, I love these characters, and it's cool to see him in a movie format, but he just couldn't really feel for the characters, and I think that's a point I can agree with, because I mean, these aren't major characters from World of Warcraft, but I know of a lot of them, but it's just kind of like when Durotan died, like, it didn't really resonate with me all that much. It doesn't help when there's like an alternate future past version of him in Draenor or something in the past expansion. And another thing about the orcs that annoyed me.
Repeat. I heard none of that.
I forgot what I said.
Something about Durotan past future thing.
Oh yeah. Like when in Warlords of Draenor, basically every character in this movie. Well, except the humans, because they don't go to the humans world in Warlords of Draenor. There's like a version of them in the alternate timeline. Like Thrall even meets his dad in the alternate timeline, but that was kind of neat. But what was I gonna say?
But
was going somewhere.
Jimmy, I can about like Durotan and Medivh. Like the problem is not like I can understand from a lore fan perspective like where you're coming from, but the problem with not really caring about the characters is not, they don't really mean much in the lore,
Mm-hmm.
as much as it's the characters are not written and acted well enough for you to care about them.
And their death scenes weren't good, but we already mentioned that.
Like, this movie's trying to do a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this movie's trying to do a lot of things in its plot, and the characters don't really get glossed over. Like, I only kind of care about Garona and Duratan. They have some interesting, like, ideas, and, like, definitely Garona probably is one of the more interesting characters, but they don't have a lot of time to, like, have a lot of in-depth character moments or a lot of things that really show about them.
Speaking of Garona, I thought it was...
I didn't really care about Duratan's fight is because, like...
What? You stopped?
I did not hear any of this.
You were talking and then you stopped. Hello? Ben?
Jeffrey, all I heard was you just... Speaking of Garona, I thought blank.
Oh, you were in the middle of talking, then you stopped.
No, I stopped because you said, speaking of Garona.
But you kept talking afterwards, so when you stopped, I thought you just stopped randomly.
No, I stopped because you were saying something.
Oh, yeah. About Garona. And I have to remember what it was.
Anyways.
It was weird how, like when they captured her, they were so nonchalant, like letting her walk around the throne room and shit. And, like, getting in people's faces, and she was all cocky about it. That just felt a little weird. Like, these people are savages from what you know. You're just kind of letting her do her thing.
Yeah, it's weird,
and in the lore, she was supposed to be... I'm pretty sure I'm getting this right. I'm not 100% sure, but she was part orc, part Draenei. And I think I read somewhere that she's not
kind of like...
Yeah. I thought I read somewhere that she's not part Draenei in this adaptation, but they never mentioned that. They kind of hint at her not being a full...
the word half-breed out there.
Yeah, and they
did throw the fact that she did bring up the fact that she's half-breed.
Yeah, and, like, when they were talking about her race,
but half-breed with what they didn't mention.
Yeah. And then they had the part where that one guy with the shotgun who was never named, he was like, she's more like us than them. But it wouldn't make any sense for her to be human. Although, it did seem like remember the scene where Medivh was laying in the bed and Garona was there when he woke up? And he was he was basically telling the story of how he once had a mate, but he had to leave her. Like, that story sounded almost similar. Yeah, it sounded similar to Garona's story about her mom, but it wouldn't make any sense for him to know her mom. Although he had been kind of missing.
No, that doesn't...
He had been missing for a couple of years.
I mean, he had been missing for 6 years, but Garona is clearly not 6 years old.
Well, yeah.
So, it could be implied that Medivh is Garona's mother, which would make no sense at all, because technically...
you mean father.
Knowing Medivh's backstory, that would mean, like, Sargeras is now part of Garona, which doesn't make any sense.
You said, that Medivh would be Garona's mother.
What?
You accidentally said... No, you said mother.
Did I say that?
Yeah, you said mother. So where did that tusk come from? Was that Medivh's tusk?
I don't know. You get what I mean.
Yeah.
That was one of Medivh's, like, devil horns.
Yeah.
But basically, you understand my point. With Medivh, I don't know, the way that I understand how Sargeras works and how Medivh was possessed doesn't make a lot of sense. If Medivh was Garona's father, because that would mean
he would have had to been on. He would have
Garona, which doesn't make any sense.
He would have.
Sargeras was ever even brought up.
He would have had to been on Draenor for some reason, and I don't think he was. It was not. I don't think they even have.
They could rewrite it to where that's how he was possessed because Medivh's mother is never mentioned.
Yeah. Well, that and remember when he was talking to Morose about his about how he had been corrupted by the Fel and he didn't even remember half the stuff he had been doing? I mean, that could have been a thing.
I don't know. I feel like that's more like Sargeras or some other demon possessing him rather than like.
And the other thing is, he would have had to know about the orc homeworld to get the orcs to the
Yeah, that's
human
true.
world.
And because also when he was chanting the stuff to open the portal, his eyes were like I think they were green. And then when Lothar started yelling at him about killing everyone, his eyes changed for a second, but they ultimately went back. So it did seem like he was possessed, like specifically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's.
I don't know. I don't know if it would have been Sargeras himself, but it could have been anyone under Sargeras, like Kil'jaeden or Archimonde or whatever.
What was I? There was something I was getting to, but oh yeah, even with Medivh. Medivh was an okay character. I'm not gonna say he's an interesting one because he's not really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Because his motivations are all like kind of screwed up because I don't really buy his motivations.
Yeah, he was. I don't know if that was a part of the problem with the actor, but he seemed too obvious.
I feel like it was more of a part of the writing because like.
Well, that and I already knew
there's
Medivh was bad.
Really, a point where Medivh does show his motivation, and granted, it would have taken a lot of really good acting chops to pull off Medivh, in a way that's emotional. But at the same time, it's like Medivh was not well written as a character.
Yeah, in general.
So, like the acting was okay. Like in my opinion, he's one of the weaker characters, along with Khadgar. So,
I don't really think Khadgar was a weak
although
character.
Khadgar can cast polymorph, which makes me happy.
Yeah, oh yeah, that was funny when Lothar threw the thing and he turned into a sheep and he was like, "What?" I don't think. Well, where was I going? I don't think Khadgar was poorly written or a bad character. I just think he didn't have that much involvement in it. I mean, he wasn't really supposed to have that much involvement anyway. Like the only reason he was involved in the first place was because he helped them discover that the Fel was involved.
Yeah, but the thing is, from a narrative, like from a lore standpoint, I understand where you're coming from, Jeffy. But from a narrative standpoint, he does not fit in that movie very well at all.
Well,
we don't even know why he was in the barracks to begin with.
Or why he gives a shit.
Well, I mean, when you're dark magic and he said he went there because he sensed the evil or whatever.
I did not catch that.
That begs the question: why does he care?
Well, in the whole world,
good guy.
whole world's going to be destroyed.
So.
Well, and like that was almost like a
Guardian. Why is he helping Medivh and Lothar? Because technically he's branded a fugitive.
Well, I mean, he understood that it was like that big of a threat. Like remember he specifically said when they were in the barracks, the Guardian is the one that needs to explain this.
I thought that was kind of cheap too. Like, why not just say what it is?
Yeah.
Like,
well, I think that was like I think that was just bad writing right there. Like I can understand like don't say I think someone else should tell you. You can explain it, but you should just say we need to get the Guardian involved. But you could just easily just set it. Hey, it's Fel magic. That's pretty bad stuff. Let's go get the Guardian.
Yep.
And no, I don't think they've had a Guardian since Medivh. Well, unless I'm not sure if Khadgar's actual Guardian or not. Like the whole
Guardian now. It's
the whole Guardian concept is not something I was familiar with. I know of the Kirin Tor and everything.
Either, to be honest, it's just.
Well, I'm just saying in my times of playing Warcraft 3 and World of Warcraft, I've never heard of like the Guardian role. I know of the Kirin Tor and whatnot, but also that random ass box of the Kirin Tor that seems so unnecessary.
Okay, I have no idea what that thing is. I don't.
Yeah, it had the girl with the green eyes. I have no clue who that was.
I know what you're talking about. It's just it was never named or explained.
Yeah, like he went there. He went in the box and he talked to the girl. I was like, I've been playing this game for fucking ever. I don't know who this is. Like I could name like random orc people like fighting who had like nothing to do with anything. Like what was it? Like a Grommash. I saw Grommash. Yeah, Grommash. I saw him and he was only like shown like twice, and I immediately knew it was him. But then with like the lady in the box, I was like, who the hell are you?
To be fair, I knew who Grommash was, but that's because I play Hearthstone.
Yeah.
Because Grommash is a okay Hearthstone card.
Yeah.
I only play casually, so I had no idea.
Grommash is a warrior legendary, so that's why you have never heard of
I
him.
don't play
probably.
Hearthstone
I saw
at
like
all.
one orc with black hair, like once that
Yeah,
looked like
that-
an orc in
yeah,
the
that was-
trailer
that
for
was him.
something or other. I saw him and I was like, oh, people probably know him, but other than that,
Yeah, and it's crazy
Grommash
because
is cameo, which means
yeah.
Garrosh is going to show up at some point.
Yeah, it's crazy because Grommash, he was like one of the head orcs during that time. But I guess they didn't really want to make him the center focus because he was such a big plot point in Warlords of Draenor.
Again, this is
He could still
like,
be
this is
big
my
in the next
okay,
movie.
I think at this point we've been going on for a long time.
Yeah.
And we can just sit here and bat plot points back day in and day out. But
Yeah.
like, for the point of having a semi-short video, we should like for video length. I think we should probably start wrapping up. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but
Yeah. Just I mean, we kind of hit the big points. Is there anything y'all think we left out? I mean, we kind of went over we basically went over anything big in the story already.
I'm gonna go over.
Say, like, we could have talked about the human stuff, but there's not a lot of interesting human stuff.
Yeah.
I'll go over one thing that I thought was just really jarring. Like I've done camera work and stuff, and there was just one camera shot that like stuck there for. It was like Lothar's face for like a minute, and I just don't understand why they did that.
Yeah, the direction.
It hurt me a little bit inside.
The direction and the editing of that movie as a whole was just kind of okay. Like
there were some
and
scenes
before anyone really comments about direction in a movie. Like yes, it does matter because A, the director signs off on almost everything, and B, you want to show how good directing can make and good camera work can make something interesting. Go watch the hallway fight scene or the stairwell fight from Netflix Daredevil. Go watch that and then tell me camera work and directing is not important.
Is that good or are those scenes good or bad?
Holy shit, they are amazing.
Oh, I think I've seen the hallway fight scene. That actually was really cool to watch.
The hallway fight is amazing.
I did like one of the scenes where I think it was just some random Stormwind guard was fighting an orc, and it was kind of like in first person, like when the orc slammed the hammer down. It was from the perspective of the guy on the ground. I like that.
I think I remember that.
I do remember
that was towards the
scene.
beginning.
It felt completely out of place in the movie.
That was in like the very beginning.
It was never
I think.
brought up or explained again.
Well, it was just like a
most
random
of the
fight.
camera work they did in there. That one scene. I think it was towards like that last fight between like Lothar and what's his face.
And I think it's Blackhand.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just stuck a camera in Lothar's face for like however long they did, and you could just hear everything else in the background. It was just his face, nothing else.
I don't remember that.
Right after his griffin got slammed.
I think so. It was just like his face for like 10 seconds.
Showed his disorientation.
He just stared at it like it served no point. What it felt like to me was when like the director was talking to somebody else in the background and the camera was just stuck there for a moment. They were just like, "Oh, ready some other camera, take some other camera," and they did it like haphazardly. That's what it felt like to me.
Yeah, I
really off.
I gotta bring it up. Lothar cut Blackhand in the dick.
Yeah.
He did.
Like just straight up, like
he cut off Red Blackhand's dick.
Like just
cut it in half.
Yeah, basically. And like the face he made after getting cut, like that was the face that somebody makes when their dick gets cut in half.
Because you've seen that before.
No, I'm just saying that's probably the face that somebody would make.
True.
Anyways, I think we've gone on about everything that's worth going on about.
Yeah, pretty much.
So
I liked it a lot. I think after discussing this and thinking about it, they know it's obviously not a perfect movie, but in terms of a video game movie, it's definitely a good step in the right direction. And it leaves a good spot for a sequel. But then again, the Warcraft universe is so big, the sequel was going to happen either way.
Christopher?
I thought the CG, the camera work, and that sort of stuff was really good. Some of the acting was off, and plot points were weird, but otherwise, I didn't think it was a bad movie. It's a decent action movie.
And then another thing is that if you don't know a lot of the locations or like the just general lore, a lot of the stuff will kind of go over your head. Like
Oh
Like,
yeah, this
Oh, yeah.
is very much for the Warcraft initiated.
yeah, because like
Yeah.
I remember there was a part where they were at like the war table and talking about like we have to have 3 garrisons here at the Red Ridge Mountains and then and like all these locations that the normal person would just have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah, like the only location I knew was like the Black Rock Mountain kind
Mhm.
of deal, and that was from I think it was like the
Mhm.
Hearthstone
It was
I
the
was
Hearthstone expansion.
I was just I don't know if it was because I didn't notice, but I was disappointed when Lothar was like, "Take him to Goldshire," and then like when they were running on the going on the road to Goldshire, it was the exact road all the way to Goldshire. Like I recognized it completely. But when they got to Goldshire, like they didn't actually show it. They just like went inside a house or something, and then you never actually got to see
That was
Goldshire.
a lot of problems with the movie. Like there's
Mhm.
like 4 or 5 human cities, and the only one I remember is Stormwind.
same.
Well, the another thing is that they're generally all in like a pretty close location. Like the farthest they go away is Dalaran, I think. Like that's like the farthest they move away from each other. Like you remember the scene
And
where
Dalaran's in like the sky or some shit now.
yeah, it's in the sky. Um what was I gonna say? Like you remember the scene where it shows the Frostwolf clan, mainly Dorotan and Doomhammer, and they were like in the place with all the hay, and it just kind of looked like a like in the
It was
very
the first
first
Orcish raid.
yeah that first Orcish raid where one of them asked why Dorotan wasn't fighting, and he was like, "I prefer my enemies to have a weapon, not a baby." You know that scene where they were at like
Yeah.
the first raid?
Mhm.
That was Westfall, and it would probably take you like 5 minutes to run from Westfall to Stormwind on foot. So I mean, like it was all kind of generally in the vicinity, except for Dalaran.
Which is in the sky.
Which is in the sky.
Yeah, and it's a pretty long ways away too. And Karazhan, which was Medivh's tower, that's in the general area. It's a little farther off, but it's probably the second farthest away thing. One thing I thought was really interesting, you know how when Medivh first started going crazy and he killed Morose?
Who's Morose again?
Morose
The
was
old guy.
the old butler guy who was basically in
Oh,
the tower
okay.
with him. He is
I
a
don't
he.
think they ever actually name him, but
Well, they call him Morose a couple times, but it's so like subtle that you wouldn't even
I
notice.
missed both of them.
Yeah, but Morose is a raid boss in the Karazhan raid, and he's undead. I thought that was really neat.
So a lot of nods to
Yeah.
Warcraft stuff, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, as far as like my thoughts, I might make a separate, much shorter review on my own channel, but
Mm-hmm.
basically what my thoughts on this movie, there are 2 ways to look at this. For one, the plot is decent because I mean it's a war movie.
Mm-hmm.
It has very impressive CGI work. The characters are bleh, mostly. The characters are very meh. The
Mhm.
writing for them is very meh. The acting's a mixed bag.
Some badass fight scenes.
Some good fight scenes here and there. It's got a very horde swing. My main
Yeah.
criticism is it has a pretty high barrier to entry for those who are not in the
Yeah.
who don't really know Warcraft lore, which is
Mhm.
why I think a lot of critics have been giving crap about this.
Yeah, I don't think it's really a fair thing on the
But-
critics' part.
But ultimately, on one end,
They probably don't play Warcraft.
Or
it doesn't really matter. It's
lore.
like, on one end, that criticism has validation. On the other hand, to be a successful movie and a successful adaptation, you kind of have to be able to actually, come out to someone who doesn't know anything about Warcraft and then entice them about the universe and sort of like help educate them about that.
Yeah.
So, in terms of an adaptation, this movie's kind of a failure. In terms of a adaptation for like most people that can be viewed generally separate from the games as something for the Warcraft fans, fans are probably like it.
Yeah.
For those of us who have a passing interest, it's an okay movie. It's not the best thing it might be one of the best things that ever come out in video games, but that's a very low standard.
Yep.
That is a very low standard. And the fact that we have a video game movie because Ratchet and Clank did not do well at all.
Did that come out already?
It came out and then immediately left.
Okay, it must have been pretty bad then because I didn't even know it was out.
It did not do very well at all in theaters.
I don't-
Ratchet and Clank came out, that did basically horribly in theaters. the Angry Birds movie came out, and that did pretty good, I think.
I think it
didn't-
was actually received pretty well.
Angry Birds was good, but it was kind of reworked to be a kids movie, and
Yeah.
plus, it's not like with Angry Birds, there's a lot to adapt.
I don't have much hope for the
And
Sly
then this
Cooper
comes
movie.
out, and this comes out. This is basically 3 video game movies within 3 months. This, I think, it's not perfect because it's trying to be Lord of the Rings. It's trying to be, I'm not saying Game of Thrones, but it's trying to be this big fantasy epic. It's not really that. It does not meet up to the epic fantasy expectations, but it's a step in the right direction. My problem is it feels a bit too much like you need a sequel or two after this to fully get things going. This would have worked much better as a Netflix
Well,
series
like
or an
this,
HBO
it's just
series.
it's kind of like the Phantom Menace of the trilogy, well, the assumed trilogy, because all this movie really was about was the Orc invasion. Like they really had to make an origin movie, and the best point was the Orc invasion, and you can't really do much past the Orc invasion because then you'd be cramming way too much into one thing. And
My
so
problem is, like, even still, there are ways to make the Orc invasion interesting, and a lot of that was not done.
Mhm.
It was not a very interesting movie, despite the fact it had the material to be interesting.
Well, I mean, other than, I mean, like it's just the Orc invasion. You can't really do much with that.
It's a war movie. There are ways to do invasions properly.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't, like, if I recall correctly, isn't Return of the King like basically an entire, like, wait, no, it's not Return of the King, because it was like the last Hobbit movie is basically a 2-hour fight scene, and it was more entertaining than, like, more interesting than this.
Mhm. Well, I think in that,
It was
like,
a 2-hour fight scene.
they were kind like in this movie. In some ways, they almost stuck too close to the source material. Because I mean, like, as a, you know, let's make the lore a movie. That's basically what it is. But I do agree that there were some parts where it's just kind of like changed it a little bit to be more exciting as a movie, but they just kind of went with the more lore representation.
Yeah,
Because I don't think there was much like that really deviated from the lore.
In my opinion, if they were going to stick to the lore, they should have made it a Netflix series or an HBO series. With the popularity of those, like, it would have been better because you could have told a better, longer-lasting story. Because this does feel absurdly rushed at 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Although personally, do we want to give out scores and then just end the video or something?
I don't really think we need to score it. Like, I mean, we pretty much went over everything.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we
Alrighty then.
would almost have to have multiple scores, and it'd just be too much.
Okay then. All right, I think that's it. To be
Yeah,
honest.
that's probably
Final
does it.
synopsis: it was decent. Probably doesn't deserve a negative 20 or a 23. But
Yeah, that's
yeah, if
stupid.
you're a Warcraft person, you'll probably like it. If not, you might
It's
still
an
like it.
okay film.
Yeah, if you
This is a step. I want to know how well this does in theaters because
Mhm.
it's done very well in other parts of
Mhm.
the world that it released in.
Yeah.
Although here, I don't think it's going to do very well. Although I'm
Mhm.
interested to see what happens.
Yeah, and if you're thinking about seeing it and maybe you don't know much about the lore, maybe you have a friend that does, go with them. It I say, if I were to go to the movie again with somebody who doesn't know much about the lore, I would probably explain a lot firsthand so they could grasp a lot more. Like, I would explain the location, so, like, say when they go to Medivh's tower, they're like, oh, it's out on the other side of the world. No, it's like a day's foot away or something like that.
All right. Well,
Yeah, I think that was good.
it was a decent way. To spend 2
It
hours.
went from a
Go
review.
see it at matinee.
Yeah, it went from a review to like a something else.
It's basically a podcast.
Yeah,
style views versus-
podcast pretty much. All right, I think that's probably gonna do it.
Yeah, thank you guys for watching.
I would say if you want to see more, like and subscribe. But I don't think we're going to see any more movies anytime soon that need reviewing.
I mean, if this gets a positive perception, sure, I'll see a few more movies.
Yeah, that's true. All right, well,
You can afford it.
I will see you all in a later video, and I will see you two in the Skype call after I hit end video.
Yeah.
because you will still be
So-
because you will still be there.
Gun Knight
And Ben will
777,
still be
please
ranting.
Come over to my channel and watch things.
Yes, link in the description.
Yes.
Y'all have a good one.
Mandatory.
And goodbye.